It's cold.
Well, the clocks are.
Right at 9.
Last time they were like right on both of them.
I go to start.
Yep.
Yeah, yes. You ready?
I think we need to let people join.
Ready? Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, good morning and welcome to the April 2nd, 2025 City Planning Commission meeting. Commissioners, look forward to hearing your case as we understand every project is important and unique. In addition, we want to make sure we address all of the docketed items individually with the attention that they need to build consensus between the applicant, public, and the city staff. Our meeting will follow the advertised docket, and we will hear the cases in order they are listed, beginning with the consent agenda, followed by the docketed items. Commissioners believe we can reach consensus by being brief yet heard. Because our meeting is virtual and recorded, we have time limits for the cases we hear, which is 5 minutes for staff presentations and 20 minutes for the applicant, plus any questions by the commissioners. When we move to public comment, we will call on those who have joined us in person, followed by those who have joined us virtually. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes when speaking as an individual, or up to 5 minutes when representing a community association or larger group. Please be brief and limit repetitive comments. Those of you who are joining us virtually, I ask that you be ready to go when it is your turn to speak. Have your video camera turned on and your screen name correctly displayed. This helps us make sure we get your testimony for the record. As we get started, I ask staff to provide additional ground rules and instructions as we conduct this meeting to ensure we have minimal disruption and maximum clarity. So Sarah, can you remind us of those rules, please?
Yes, good morning. I'll describe the testimony procedures for our hybrid meeting today. For everyone joining us online, please know that there are 2 categories of people participating in the meeting: attendees and panelists. Right now, the only panelists are the commission members and city staff. If you are an applicant or a member of the public who is interested in a case, please use the raise hand function when the case is announced to let staff know you would like to speak. There is a ribbon at the bottom of your Zoom screen with a hand icon. Please click this to raise your hand to request to speak on a case. You will need to accept the promotion to panelist in order to speak. It may appear temporarily as if you have been disconnected, but don't panic. You will reconnect shortly. If you are calling in using your phone line, your screen name appears as your phone number. You can raise your hand to speak when the case is announced by pressing star followed by the number 9. When you are promoted to panelist, the chair would like for you to turn on your camera so the commission can see you when it is your time to speak. Your microphone needs to always be on mute unless you are giving testimony at the appropriate time. When you are called upon, you will be able to share your screen to display exhibits. You will be given 2 minutes to testify, or 5 minutes if you represent an organization such as a neighborhood association, HOA, CID, or business association. The chat box is only for questions about the agenda, and the merits of each case should not be discussed in the chat box. For everyone joining us in person, applicants may be seated at the center desk when the case is called. Members of the public who would like to speak may approach the microphone on the podium when it is appropriate to give testimony. If you are in person, there is no need for you to be on the Zoom meeting as well, and joining the meeting in both manners causes a lot of unnecessary feedback and audio disruptions. Please keep your devices on silent and be quiet when entering and exiting the hearing room.
Okay, thank you. Just a note, we have the 5 commissioners today and a couple of them will be in and out through the morning. Just to let everybody know that. All right, well, let's start with the consent agenda items, please.
We have three items today on the consent docket. Item C1 is case CD CPC 2025-18, a request to approve a final plan in District MPD on about 4 acres, generally located on the south side of Edgewood Farms Drive between Northwest Rowan Ridge Road and Northwest Berrybrook Drive, allowing for the creation of a fitness center. Staff recommends approval with conditions. Item C2 is case CD CPC 2025-36, a request to approve a project plan in District B1-1 to approve a residential development on about 0.8 acres generally located at Northwest Berry Road and North Green Hills Road. Staff requests a continuance of this case to April 16th without fee. And item C3 is case CD CPC 2025-3, a request to approve an MPD final plan in District MPD to allow for the construction of a school and college university on about 19 acres generally located at Northwest 95th Street and North Platte Purchase Drive. Staff request approval with conditions.
Okay, any questions from the commission regarding docket items C1, C2, or C3? All right, seeing none, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket items C1, C2, or C3, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Any idea with the C1, when that's going to get put in place?
Nope, no idea.
All right, with that, I'll take a motion, please.
Moving to approve consent docket items C1, C2, and C3 with conditions stated for each.
You're going to need to modify C2 because they want to continue that one to
Oh, that's right.
April 16.
Yeah. So we'll move to approve docket items C1 and C3 with the conditions stated for each, and then C2 to April 16th, you said?
Yep.
Yes.
Without fee.
Without fee.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket items C1 and C3 and continuance of docket item C2 to April 16 without fee. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Harkin,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Hassick,
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like that motion passes. Let's move to the regular docketed items, beginning with those that want to be continued to a future date.
Our continuances begin with docket item number 8, case CD CPC 2025-11, a request to approve amendments to Chapter 88, the Zoning and Development Code through revisions, clarifications, and other administrative changes throughout the chapter in accordance with the Zoning and Development Code periodic review. Staff request continuance without fee to May 21st. Docket item number 9 is case CD SUP 2025-7, a request to approve a major amendment to a special use permit for an addition on about 7.91 acres generally located at the southwest corner of East 83rd Street and Holmes Street. Staff requests continuance without fee to April 16th. Docket item number 10 is case CD SUP 2025-3, a request to approve a special use permit to allow for gasoline and fuel sales in District M1-5 on about 0.7 acres generally located at East 12th Street and Jackson Avenue. Staff requests continuance without fee to May 21st. Docket item number 11 is case CD CPC 2025-28, a request to approve a rezoning from District R 7.5 to District R 1.5 on about 6.14 acres generally located at 7800, 7802, and 7744 North Oak Traffic Way. And case CD CPC 2025-30, a request to approve a development plan also serving as a preliminary plat to allow construction of multiplex residential buildings in proposed District R1.5 on about 6.14 acres generally located at 7800, 7802, and 7744 North Oak Traffic Way. Staff requests continuance without fee to April 16th. Docket item number 12 is case CD SUP 2025-4, a request to approve a special use permit to allow for the expansion of gasoline and fuel sales establishments in District B4-5 on about 0.4 acres, generally located at East Truman Road and Brooklyn Avenue. Staff requests continuance without fee to April 16th. And docket item number 13 is case CD CPC 2025-19, a request to approve an amendment to the Midtown Plaza Plan to change the future land use designation from office residential to mixed-use neighborhood on about 0.9 acres generally located at 4420 Madison Avenue. And case CD CPC 2025-1, a request to approve a rezoning from R1.5 to B1-2. So the zoning designation reflects existing conditions on about 0.9 acres generally located at 4420 Madison Avenue. Staff requests continuance without fee to April 16th.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission regarding continuance of docket items 8 through 13.2? All right, seeing none, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding the continuance of docketed items 8, 9, 10, 11.1, 11.2, 12, 13.1, or 13.2, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, so we'll close public testimony then, and I'll take a motion, please.
Moving to continue docket items 9, 11.1, 11.2, 12, 13.1, and 13.2 to April 16th, and docket items 8 and 10 to May 21st, all without fee.
Okay,
Second.
I've got a motion and a second for continuance of docket items 8 through 13.2 as requested in the agenda. Margaret, can you take roll call on the motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Beasley. Aye. Crow,
Aye.
Hasek,
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes then. So let's move back to docket item number 1, please.
Docket item number 1 is case CD CPC 2024-20, a request to approve a transit-oriented development overlay for the Prospect Corridor to create development and site design standards for the Prospect Avenue area on about 854.28 acres, located to generally include properties that front on Prospect Avenue from 12th Street to 77th Street, and properties that front on 12th Street from Charlotte Street to Prospect Avenue. In addition, properties adjacent to Prospect Avenue and along the cross streets are part of the overlay district. Specifically notes that Truman Road, 18th Street, 23rd Street, 27th Street, 31st and Linwood Boulevard, 39th Street, Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, 63rd Street and Meyer Boulevard, Gregory Boulevard, and 75th Street.
Okay, good morning, Chairman Crow, fellow commissioners. Andrew Clark, City Planning and Development, and I have my colleague here.
Jonathan Feverston, Long Range Planner for the 3rd District.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning. So I am not going to go through the entire presentation that you saw on March 5th. I included everything from March 5th in case questions arise, but we will, I guess, cut to the chase of what staff looked at from commissioners' feedback. Just for anybody online that's not familiar, again, this overlay does go along 12th Street from the 4th District through the 3rd and 5th District on Prospect Avenue down to 75th Street. The plan was approved by this body and also City Council about 2 months ago. This is the actual overlay itself, which is over 800 acres. Staff was tasked with this overlay, and why are we doing this? It's to promote development that can evolve over time, that does support the bus rapid transit on Prospect Avenue. And again, the overlay is not a specific redevelopment or development plan, the taking of any property, and we are not partnered with any developers. And essentially, this overlay is to bring back the urban fabric and form that once existed on Prospect. And on top of that, it's to increase the population on Prospect. You can't have commerce without people. So at the end of the day, how do you find that balance and support the bus rapid transit? How do we avoid these gaps that we have along the Prospect corridor with infill that can work and supports the Prospect Max, which was the intention of the plan and the overlay? Again, there are 4 sub-districts: urban industrial, urban community, urban neighborhood, and then the transit corridor. We broke them down by acres. A majority of them are urban community and transit corridor as the sub-districts. Those are focused on residential uses because, like I said, you have to have people for commerce. There were a few questions from the last hearing about urban industrial and also some questions as to why the plan might be more restrictive on these manufacturing uses. The artisanal manufacturing would be permitted in all of the nodes and the transit corridor, but limited manufacturing is a little more restrictive. When you come to the definitions, which is something outside of this overlay, there has been comments that artisanal manufacturing might be a little restrictive to some manufacturers' needs. That would be a question in the future of, do we need to amend the definition of artisanal manufacturing? But do we need computer and electronic product manufacturing and assembly, people making chips on Prospect? I don't know if that's a neighborhood corridor that you would, or use that you would see in the neighborhood corridor.
Yeah, I think that's why they're looking at making that as maybe a special use permit instead of an actual not allowed. So at least you can talk about it. see what's going to happen.
Well, again, the feedback came from the engagement that we did, where we worked with the community and stakeholders of which uses they want to see where on the corridor. And the two areas for industrial uses were identified in the Paseo West area and then in the area between I-70 and 18th Street, or essentially to the railroad tracks. There is no, from the feedback we received from the community, there was not a desire to expand more industrial along the corridor.
And I will say by the acreage graph that Andrew provided, the limited manufacturing would be allowed with a special use permit in the urban community node. It would also be permitted in the urban industrial node. When looking at those two together, that would be the majority of the acreage within the zoning overlay. So you still have quite a few parcels and acres of land within the zoning overlay that would be permitted or permitted with a special use permit.
Because again, we're trying to focus on having industrial next to residential, which was brought up in the last hearing. So we want to keep the industrial in those two areas.
Yeah, I guess I understand that. It seems like other places, depending on what it is, at least we could entertain it instead of saying absolute no, right? Or not.
If the commission is recommending that urban neighborhood node allow it through a special use permit, is that the recommendation?
But I think it's more the artesian type of business than it is a regular industrial type of thing.
Right. But the artisanal is already permitted in the neighborhood node.
Okay.
And again, that brings up the question of staff would need more specifics of what needs to be changed to the definition of artisanal manufacturing instead of just saying limited manufacturing
Do you
should
have a
be
definition
permitted.
of it now, currently in our standards?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So we would just need more what staff is recommending is the resolution to this is to change the definition in the future with specific examples
Okay.
as to why a business cannot fall under artisanal manufacturing.
Okay.
Again, there was a comment about daycares requiring a special use permit once a daycare center hits 21 plus. This came again from the feedback where most of the corridor, you have Prospect and then it immediately abuts residential uses, single family, low density. With the daycare center, with the way the code is currently written, 21 and plus, I could have a daycare center of 200. It's easy to exceed that 21. Also, something that not everyone always considers is that daycare centers can be a 24-hour operation. And when you're not having pickup and drop off at those peak times of morning and evening, a lot of people forget about the complications you can have with the pickup and drop off, the amount of vehicles coming in and out, and then, like we said, the noise and impact on the residential properties next door. And that was the feedback we received during the stakeholder process. Not that they're against the daycares, but they want to see a plan of how they can mitigate. And then in the urban industrial, we want to make sure you're not putting a daycare right next to a use that probably should not have a daycare next to it.
Sure.
The feedback we also received about uses is taverns or nightclubs. Staff thought it might be a little more contentious walking into the public engagement with this topic. But essentially, the feedback we had is that we need a place to go. So we've heard that we want some time restrictions, but city planning does not manage regulated industries. So we would have to defer to regulated industries for any specifics related to how late a tavern or nightclub could be open. But at the end of the day, the feedback we received is at least allow the public engagement process to play out. And that is why we are recommending a special use permit for the taverns or nightclubs. There was also comments about why is this plan not permitting retail sales in all of the nodes once you hit 5,000 square feet or greater? This is a bit of a chicken and the egg situation. Retail sales is such a broad category that covers everything from liquor to candy bars to tobacco to vapes. And we had feedback that we do not need any more liquor stores or tobacco stores along the corridor. The consultant that worked on this overlay and the plan with staff, they recommended breaking down the square footages based on what these uses are usually located in, the square footage of those buildings. And so that is where the breakdown came from. The only other option is to break retail sales down by every single item you could think of that you would buy at a convenience store. And then our list would be about 20 pages long.
Yeah, so in this case, what you're showing right now, just the small would be allowed or by special use permit, anything. Any other retail sales that are greater than 5,000 square feet, they're not allowed? Is that what you're saying in there?
Only in the industrial and transit corridor, once you hit the 5,000, it would not be permitted. They're permitted in the urban community node all the way through.
Okay.
Another conversation from the last hearing, there was testimony that we were not showing all of the uses that were being removed from this overlay. There is a proliferation of vehicle sales and service uses along the corridor. The point of this overlay is to establish guardrails and set guidelines to promote reinvestment. It's hard to bring reinvestment to a corridor when just about every motor vehicle repair use is permitted. Why would I invest in a residential development when I know next door, the property I don't own could become vehicle storage or general auto repair? We did discuss parking maximums at the last hearing. In the staff report, I did bring up that over 70% of the existing area already has a parking maximum if you're within 1,000 feet of a Prospect Max bus stop. So essentially, we're just adding 30% more of the properties. The overlay standards when it comes to massing and facade, staff did remove the wall plane limits. We feel like that is a little too restrictive without seeing a surge of development applications. That was just another layer to make things more difficult. So the wall plane limits have been removed, as well as the upper story transparency has been set at a minimum of 15%. So you can exceed the 15%, but a second story, you would need to have at least 15% transparency.
Andy, explain to me what the wall frame limits, what are you referring to?
The blank wall limits.
No, wall plane.
Oh, wall plane. So it would be when you're looking at the front of a building, you have something called articulation. So it's where, a vertical plane of wall may either jut out or go in. In larger buildings, you might see with apartment buildings some of this occurring where you might have like a unit that comes out and then maybe it's a hallway or maybe another part of the unit comes in. And the point of that when you have a large building is to basically break up the facade so that way it's not this very large, overwhelming massing when you're looking at the overall development and design form of a site or a block overall. So a way you can do this, simply you can add the articulation where the physical elevation is being moved, but you can also do it through, oftentimes with apartments, you might have like a small patio or a balcony. That's one way to break up the wall plane. And you can do it also with materials. So the different texture of materials as well.
So that was my first thought when you started speaking was your sixplex where they have a front porch and then there is the indentation between those to enter the building. And then I started thinking transparency when we talk about the window coverage to see into a building. So this is strictly more materials and how the layout of the building is when you talk about the wall plane.
Right. Like one example I can think of is um, along Truce, what used to be the CVS and Walgreens, how it's just that continuous blank wall. It's just one material, one wall.
Okay.
That's we just thought removing there's no need for this wall plane limits with how much infill we still need to set the character for the corridor. So we just thought it was a little too restrictive.
And remember, glass is also a material. So if you're changing materials for the wall plane limit, that could also be transparent. Doesn't always have to be a different shade of brick.
Thank you.
And the J.E. Dunn building, I feel like, is a good example of playing with the wall planes across the street. Commissioner Hassick might disagree as an architect. Who knows? But all right. Parking. There was a conversation of on-street parking, parking layouts. A lot of the feedback we've received from the public is erratic driving along Prospect. So I can take a quick break because I'm sure you're tired of listening to me about this project. I do have Bailey Waters with Public Works with our mobility division to talk about what Public Works is doing outside of the overlay, if you would like a quick update on that.
Yeah, I think so. Come on up.
Hello, everyone. Bailey Waters with Public Works Department. If you hadn't heard, we did receive a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant along Prospect. It's only for a section of it, not the entirety of the corridor, but from Linwood to Cleaver Boulevard, since it was on our high injury network, we applied for this roadway safety grant. So we'll be looking into pedestrian safety, pedestrian lighting, and these sort of streetscape type things as a part of this safety project that we should be starting this year. It won't get constructed for another several years as we need to design and engage the community still, but leaning on the engagement that's already done, and then getting to move this forward into construction. Yeah.
How's that affect parking?
What'd you say?
How's that going to affect parking? Is that part of the process?
That will engage the public on, do they want to preserve the parking or would they rather it be used for something else? So I don't have a clear answer on that yet, on how it affects parking, but we'll lean on the plan as to, does street parking need to be preserved and all that. So,
Okay.
yep, no
Thank you.
assumptions yet.
I think in this plan, it was some of the parking is going to be limited in the front of the building, that it's preferred to be around the back.
So I can
And-
elaborate on that as well, but
Okay. Yeah, is that what you guys are looking at in your project as well, is putting the parking a different side, or kind of what's your?
We're just looking at the right-of-way itself. So looking and having planning engaged on the project as well on, as buildings are developed more closely to the right-of-way line, yeah, how do we design the street frontage to accommodate that? So, you know, fast cars aren't going really fast right 10 feet in front of your door, having that maybe space or different amenities in between the traffic and the front door of these buildings.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
thanks, Bailey. So there was comments about the need for parking in the front of the buildings. This plan does not support that. That's a suburban style of design and on an urban corridor. And it's in direct conflict with transit-oriented development to put a parking lot on a bus rapid transit line. My colleague, Jonathan Feverston, found this report from 1989 by Oshner, Hare and Hare for the Bruce R. Watkins Drive, which included Prospect. And even in 1989, they were talking about the importance of bringing buildings to the street for traffic calming. So this is not a new idea. I wanted to show examples of where it's currently working in Kansas City and what this plan is proposing. We're proposing parking lots on the side of a building. So you still have it essentially off the street. This is a great example of Tiki Taco, where they took the parking lot and turned it into a patio, which the plan supports. They removed parking. Here we are at 55th and Truce, again, parking on the side of the building, which the plan allows for. We see this at 57th and Truce. The library currently has parking in the rear. the Family Dollar at 18th and Prospect, a mixture of on-street parking. So this would be the coordination with Public Works as they work along the corridor to make sure that we have adequate and safe on-street parking. But then the plan also complements what Public Works will do by having the parking and curb cuts away from the street to create any conflicts. Again, at 28th and Prospect, the parking is behind the apartments. So staff just wanted to highlight there are examples that already work, and in the plan for transit-oriented development, we need the parking to be on the side or in the rear of the building. I believe those were the updates from the testimony at the last hearing. Again, I wanted to also remind everyone that for any businesses that are currently lawfully established within the overlay, if there's any changes, I spoke with one customer who does have a daycare center that is more than 21 children. They will need to obtain a certificate of legal nonconforming use that runs with the land. It does not run with the property owner. So it runs with the land as long as the use is in continuous operation. And city planning and development is waiving the fee on these applications if this plan is approved by council for 18 months. So to continue working with property owners to say, please come in and obtain this certificate. That concludes our update for the overlay district, and staff is still recommending approval without conditions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission?
Just the last statement
Speak in your mic.
last statement you made, in case I didn't hear you correctly. For the daycares that need to get the new certificate, you are notifying them so they know they don't have to depend on figuring out on their own.
Go, were you going to say something?
Go for it.
Okay. So we've had several public engagement meetings. All of the existing properties have received notices about this overlay. We've held workshops on how to apply for the CLNU. And if this is passed, all of the businesses will be notified again by city planning and development.
Okay.
And then in comparison to previously when we've had rezonings or overlays that are adopted, it's usually been a 12-month kind of grace period where you can apply for that certificate without paying any fees. City staff is in support of an 18-month grace period because this is such a large corridor to be able to really engage with those business owners and property owners to make sure that they can apply for that certificate without paying any fees for just a little longer.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm notification.
Any other questions from the commission? Okay, at this time, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 1, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Any other thoughts from applicant or the commission? Seeing none, then we'll close testimony and speak amongst the commission, or if there's nothing to discuss, I'll take a motion, please.
Let me go ahead and move to approve docket item number 1 without conditions.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 1. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Harkin,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Bassick.
Aye.
Padilla.
All right, looks like the motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work on that and putting it together. So look forward to seeing it in action.
Thank you for your feedback.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to docket item number 2, please.
Docket item number 2 is case CD SUP 2024-52. A request to approve a special use permit to allow a rooftop tavern/nightclub use on an existing building in the Troost Corridor overlay on about 1.8 acres, generally located at the northeast corner of Troost Avenue and East 30th Street.
Morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
One moment while I share my screen. All right, as stated, we have docket item number 2, which is a special use permit for a tavern use at 2999 Troost Avenue. Site is generally located west of 71 Highway and south of the downtown area. This is the subject site at the corner of Troost and East 30th Street. There is existing buildings on the site already. And I just wanted to point out that the reason the special use permit is before you is because this property is in the Troost overlay, very topical with your previous case, and the tavern nightclub use requires a special use permit. So this tavern use will be a rooftop bar on top of the building. It will only cover about 3,400 square feet right on the corner of Troost and 30th and hold a maximum of 120 occupants. So we have a closer up look. It's a relatively small portion of the rooftop of the building. This is a historic building, and because of that, no parking is required. However, there are parking agreements in place with some of the surrounding parking lots, as the Combine restaurant is also located in this building. And then we just have some street views. Again, it's right on the corner here. It will be accessible. You'll have to go into the building to go up to the rooftop. And then this is the view from 30th Street and the back of the building. This is off of Forest Avenue. And with that, staff is recommending approval subject to conditions. I can take any questions, and applicant is available for any type of operational characteristic questions as well.
Yeah, can you remind me the length of time for the special use permit?
Yes, there is a condition on the special use permit for 3 years. So when the BZA votes to approve, which is scheduled to be heard next week, if they grant approval, they'll have the special use permit for 3 years, and then they'll have to come back and renew it. And at that time, we can change the expiration, we can get rid of the expiration. But just because this is a neighborhood area and there's potential for noise and other impacts, staff is recommending 3 years before the expiration.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions from the commission?
So can I clarify who this special use permit is for? Is it for the building or is it for the Columbine?
It's only for the rooftop bar part. So the Combine restaurant is already operating legally in that building. This will only be for the rooftop bar, whether it's the Combine running it, a different user, it'll stay with the land, but it's only for this 3,400 square foot rooftop bar. Because it's a separate business.
I think we can ask the applicant, maybe they'll know more, because I was gonna ask the same question.
Okay. Thank you, Genevieve.
Am I allowed to answer that now?
Well, yeah,
Just a minute.
well,
Sorry.
do we have any more for the city? Any questions for the city?
Nope. All right, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant then. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Charles Peach. I am one of the partners in the Combine. To be honest with you, our business plan from the very beginning was to have a rooftop event and lounge. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat today. So the process has been a very long process. They did not initially have the build out done because of COVID, and it had to be redone. We've been in operation for 4.5 years. The Combine is first and foremost a neighborhood restaurant. We do have a full liquor license, but our primary function is as a restaurant. The rooftop portion of it is an addition. When we applied for our state liquor license, we included the rooftop. They approved it. The city, because we do not have contiguous space in our leased area for the restaurant, requires that we have a second license for the rooftop. So the access is through a common area of the building. And so we had to apply for a tavern license, which put it under the special use permit of the Troost overlay so that, excuse me, so that we had to apply for the special use permit to have an additional license up there. We'll be serving food from the restaurant, so we do not require a full liquor license. That's why we went for the tavern license, because the food will be served from the restaurant to the rooftop. We are very limited in our hours, so we'll just be primarily an evening spot from 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 9 o'clock at night, because this is also an apartment building. We want to be good to our neighbors. So our neighbors have lives. They live in the building. We want to keep things relaxed and calm, and so that they have a great place to go and enjoy beautiful views of the city, as well as the rest of the neighborhood. But we don't want to interfere with their general living time. So this will not be a late night place. Both my partner and I have a very strong conviction that nothing good happens after midnight. So we want to be closed up and off and out of there well before then.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
You answered some of them. One of them was going to be, what is your hours of operation up there? And so it's already built out, correct?
It is.
Okay. And then next, are there going to be speakers up there? Is it going to be?
For ambient sound, yes. There are 6 small speakers up there to provide background music. We do not allow DJs up there. We will not have large parties and events and that sort of thing up there. We do reserve the right with the building to have special events where if we have somebody who wants to rent out the rooftop for, say, a wedding or something like that, that they may have live music but not amplified.
You don't own the building?
We do not own the building. We are leasers in the building.
And
So, oh, good.
I was going to say, have you engaged with the people living in the apartments?
Yes.
And like, you have a meeting with them? And
we had a public engagement meeting on the 26th. One member of the neighborhood association showed up, so I let him know on everything. We have a really good relationship with most of the residents in the building, and they've gotten to hear all of our trials and tribulations in getting this done. Everybody seems to be very supportive of making it happen.
How long is your lease with this space?
We're coming up for lease negotiations in the next month. We've been there for 5 years, essentially. We are planning on signing another 5-year lease.
Okay. So the special use permit would be 3 years?
Yes.
So ideally, if this passes, just hypothetically, you don't re-sign your lease, someone else takes the space, they could turn it into whatever they wanted?
A different owner, a different
operator.
tenant operator could utilize the special use permit for this exact plan only.
But like the time, the 3 to 9 or whatever that.
Those are all specified in our rooftop lease.
In your lease, right? But what I'm saying is if
the
you're
owner
up,
of the building changed, because I mean, this is something that the owner of the building and we came together and said, okay, we want to make sure that we have very hard and fast parameters on this so that we are not interfering with our neighborhood.
Just to clarify, I want to add in, you're talking like a potential future. My understanding is that the special use permit only lasts for the 3 years, so they'd have to come back anyways.
But what I'm saying is their lease is up. They're doing lease negotiations now, meaning if they don't get a lease and the building owner is like, I've got rentable space, I want to rent it, and they decide that, well, I want a 3 a.m. nightclub up there, there's nothing holding them back from the city standpoint.
That is correct. We don't have any condition of the operational characteristics except for like
I just,
the
the only,
limitation on events.
the only reason I say that is do your best to get that lease as soon as possible because protection as a city, if
Yes.
you happen to walk away, patrons are going to come at us, not at the building owner because they did everything properly or, you know, whatever. So if that doesn't get signed, they're going to say, well, the city didn't protect us from this nightclub, essentially. You know,
We,
not saying it's going to happen. I'm just,
yeah.
I like to look at those hypotheticals because those kind of things do come back to bite us sometimes.
Our lease does have that we have the option to renew for 5 years. So we have that written into the lease that's ours.
Get
So,
it renewed
okay.
tomorrow.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission?
Yes, my question is, entry. You're saying that you'll have specific hours. Is it open entry for, say, the tenants might want to go to the rooftop and not deal with having any type of services, but just be in that space? Is that open for them to do that?
Yes. So we don't require anybody, come up to the space and have to pay like to get in or anything like that. So if they just want to go up there and enjoy the sunset, and not order any drinks, they're, they're perfectly welcome to do that. But we are going to have, in the evenings, currently the plan is Wednesday through Sunday. We will have that option up there and be open for business.
I'm a little bit more detailed than that. So outside your hours of operation,
The
They
residents
still-
have access to
they
the
have
roof.
access.
Yes.
that's what I was trying to get to.
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 2, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay? I don't see anybody coming up either. Okay, so at this time, we'll close public testimony then. And anything else you'd like to add? Just a question, I mean, just on the thoughts of the hours of operation, is that something you can put on the site plan? That SUP-01 to tie it to the special use permit?
Yes.
Okay.
Or put it as a condition, whichever
Sure, you could also have a condition
condition.
addressing the hours. I think we've done that. I can't think
I
of a
think we
specific
have.
example, but we've done
And
that.
it seems like that would help. That if there was a change in the lease or something that you still have the hours written on there. Okay, just a thought. All right, with that, we'll close testimony and I'll take a motion, please.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and move to approve docket item number 2 with the condition stated with the addition of a condition stating the intended time, hours of operation
On the site plan.
on the site plan.
Okay.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 2 with condition stating and adding a condition for the hours of operation to the site plan. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Hasek.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yep. Looks like a great space, really, to nice
Yes.
views.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
Beautiful views of the city and unique.
Yeah, appreciate your tenacity through that too.
There were times.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to docket item number 3, please.
Docket item number 3 is case CD SUP 2024-48, a request to approve a special use permit for motor vehicle repair on the subject site on about 0.5 acres generally located at 3840 Warwick Boulevard.
Okay. Good morning. On Ananiski, this is case CD SCP 2024-48. And as previously mentioned, this is the applicant seeking approval of a special use permit for motor vehicle repair on the subject site. So the property is located within the Midtown portion of Kansas City, Missouri, more specifically adjacent to 39th and Warwick Boulevard. If you're familiar with 39th Street, there's the two hills that go around Gillum. This is just passed up the hill with Westport High, and there's two they're kind of combined existing automotive structures on the subject site, highlighted in yellow. This is a look at those existing structures from Google Street View. So the proposed use is motor vehicle repair. As I mentioned, the business is actually relocating from their previously existing site off of Southwest Trafficway to this particular site. And the use is going to occur within the structure with no overnight parking, as they've stated in the application. If there's going to be any overnight parking, that could occur within or behind the structure. There's no proposed new construction. As mentioned before, they are using the existing building for this use. And the special use permit is triggered because of the site's location adjacent to Warwick Boulevard. So the review criteria associated with the special use permit is located on the screen. I'm going to go over the three that best supports city staff's recommendation. So first being B, which talks about the special use permit proposal being in the interest of public convenience and not having a significant adverse impact on the general community. As I mentioned, this is utilizing an existing structure. 39th Street is already very heavy commercial in nature. So adding this use is not, completely throwing off the uses along that corridor. And an active business is more beneficial than a vacant, underutilized building. We do have a condition attached to the special use permit that talks about the renewal that will need to be done with every 3 years to monitor the impact on the residential neighborhood because of motor vehicle repair could have an impact on the community. Oh, I don't have a good photo of the immediately one more zoomed out, but just to the north of this location, there are some homes. So that's the 3-year renewal allows the city to monitor how this use is going to be affecting that residential neighborhood. C is again about the proposal and its compatibility with the area, but this time in relating to site planning and building scale. So again, it's an existing structure and the existing structure has been there for a considerable amount of time. So it is compatible in terms of scale for planning and the building design. Oops. Lastly, I'm going to go over E, which is it will not have a significant adverse impact on pedestrian safety or comfort. So they are proposing to add some additional fencing on the site. This is going to reduce some of the vehicular access points because as you saw on the previous picture, there's a whole swath of that existing concrete out front, but reducing those vehicular entry points and exit points, that is going to be better for the pedestrians along 39th Street. As seen in this diagram as well. Instead of it being completely open for, cars to be able to, go in and out, they're going to reduce those entry points, which will protect the pedestrians from the vehicles coming in and out of the site. Thus, city staff, we recommend approval subject to conditions. This does go to the BZA next, which would occur next week. And there is one outstanding correction about the tree canopy cover that relates to tree mitigation. This is not applicable to the particular site because there are no trees. We just need that certified with a statement. And that concludes my staff presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Question I have is condition number 14 by the Parks and Rec, because this does front Warwick, which is a boulevard, And it says to fully comply with Parkway and Boulevard standards as outlined in 88323. What,
Mhm.
can that be a little bit more specific as to what is required of the applicant?
Is it possible for it to be more specific? Yes,
Yes,
it
I
can.
mean, because it's pretty,
That is a standard condition that they attach to almost all projects that are applicable to the Boulevard and Parkway standards. At this time, it's not, this would come into play if they were to construct a new building or addition.
so you're saying then we don't need this condition
With the,
because it's an existing building?
correct.
So we can remove 14? To me, it's really vague. I mean, to put something on there and asking the applicant to take care of these items and
Mhm.
they need to budget, you know, if they've got a lot of improvements or things they have to do, they kind of need to know what those are so they
Right.
can,
We can edit it to say when new construction occurs, those items comply, because if they build a new fence, if they, if they add a story, if they add an addition, that would still apply. So we want to be covered in those circumstances.
okay. Yeah, something
This
like
also
that.
protects city staff in the future if those are violated for some reason.
Sure. Okay. I mean, 'cause I guess the way I'm understanding this particular project and only a 3-year special use permit, um, you know, they're just gonna occupy the building. They're leasing it or whatever. So a lot of improvements that they're gonna make are gonna be minimal, I would assume. And then the special use permit would expire. Then, you know, something could be added at that time that, oh, they're gonna build a piece or expand or whatever. You could add that condition then, right? Or I'm just saying right now it's a little vague as to the requirement. That's all.
And to make it less vague, we can edit it to direct them more towards if there's improvements.
Okay.
This is a reminder
I think that would be good, you know, something of that nature that, because I don't know what improvements they're gonna make. I didn't really see any on the site plan other than they might do some work on 39th Street to limit the access. And I'm not even sure how that's gonna be done, if it's gonna be new curbing that's gonna put in there or if it's Jersey barrier. I don't know.
Mm.
But nothing really looks like it's going to be done on Warwick.
So just a quick question, did I hear anything about fencing was going to be installed?
Correct.
So if fencing is going to be installed, does that then trigger what his question is about that?
Correct.
Yeah. That's any new improvements, yeah, kind of thing. Okay.
Isn't a number 14 related to water services?
No, it's related to Parks Department because Warwick is a park and boulevard. So they have their standards along Warwick that are required. You know, I think to me, I'd like to have them outline what, based on the application, what they're proposing to do and improvements that they're going to make, what are the expectations of the Parks Department, you know, for the improvements here? Is it to fix the sidewalk? Is it the street trees? Is it, you know, limit the access? You know, that's what I think I would like to see is just what's expected of, rather than just a blanket statement. That's just me.
Understood.
And I agree with that. Just another clarification, they're leasing this property, they're not purchasing it, right?
It's in the contract. I've got the option to buy.
Okay. A part of that improvement is dependent upon what the current owner is willing to do as well, right? Okay.
Any other questions for city staff? All right, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant. Good morning. You want to talk to us a little bit about the project, what you intend to do and
Well, the business itself has been established since 1954, so we just moved from location to this new building. We just need that extra space because only one of the parts of the building is actually in use. for mechanical work and all that. We're just using the other place to do upholstery and stuff like that. So we just want to be able to use the other section of the building to continue working.
Okay, do you mind saying your name and address for the
Jose-
record?
Jose Cordova, 100 East 39th Street.
All right, any questions for the applicant?
With the exits or entrances onto the parking lot that you're closing, how do you plan to close those?
We're gonna put some of the fencing because there isn't any
Okay,
fencing on.
just fencing in front of the curb cuts? Okay.
And then tying them down pretty much with chains at night and
Great.
closing it down. That way, no entry levels or.
Yeah, I don't think Parks is gonna allow you to do chain link fence.
No, you're saying that they were gonna chain it closed, but not,
Okay.
it's gonna be,
Yeah, yeah.
When do you anticipate opening once you make all of these hurdles?
Well, we anticipate just as soon as possible today, if possible, to continue, you know.
Okay. Thank you. I was trying to see how ready you are to get started, but okay.
As far as vehicles on site, are you gonna paint some striping to keep your vehicles nice and orderly
Parking,
throughout
yeah.
the site?
We're gonna do some parking, trying to clean it up a little bit. We've already kind of started on paint on the exterior. We're not gonna do any remodeling, anything major. We're just kind of keep the building as intact as possible.
So where's that plan showing those improvements?
Of the parking lines?
Yeah, if you're gonna put striping in, I'd like, for me, I'd like to see what the site looks like when you're ready to open your business. You have your special use permit in hand.
Mhm.
What improvements are you making?
I can provide that to.
Yeah, I'd like to see that before we move it out of this commission.
Okay.
Just so we can see what those improvements look like, the striping in the parking lot, any fencing or barriers you're putting up, what do they look like?
Got a picture of the fencing that we're gonna be putting up. We don't have any pictures of the.
Yeah, I don't have that in my packet where all I have is a little site plan with those arrows that we saw before.
Mhm.
I'd like to see something a little bit more detailed than that of what exactly is being done here. That way, we have an understanding and the city knows what they're permitting as well as any neighbors know what's happening, in their neighborhood. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. All right, well, let's open it for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 3, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
We have no hands raised online.
Okay. I don't see anybody coming up, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. It's just my opinion. I'd like to see this continued to get some more information from you as to what the site's going to look like when you're done and any improvements you're looking at doing for the actual building itself.
Okay.
I don't know if you're putting a coat of paint on it or doing any treatments to the outside or anything like that. I think it'd be nice to just kind of see a full plan as what's proposed before you get opened up.
Okay.
That makes sense?
yeah, I could agree with that. I think, do you think like a month? I mean, pretty much what we're asking is a site, like a plan just showing how you're gonna do those stripes, any notes on like, are you gonna be repainting the same color, things like that, just so the city knows.
Yeah, I think to me, I'd like to have it adjusted or set as when the BZA meeting. So like, I would assume that if this went through today, they're going to meet with BZA next week. So I don't know when the next BZA or two-week meetings are out.
Mhm. They meet, so the 9th, and then they'll meet again on the 23rd.
And then there's advertising you have to do for this.
Well, if it's continued from next week, we would have advertised it for next week. We wouldn't have to
I mean,
re-advertise if it's continued.
coming back here for our meeting.
If we're continuing it so that we want to see them again to make sure that the plans,
No,
we
you-
won't have to re-advertise.
No, we don't have to re-advertise.
All right.
For the 16th then?
Yeah, can you get stuff together and back to the city so the staff can take a look at what you're proposing? Okay, so we can have it in the next staff report. Okay,
Okay with that.
I won't, so we've got a quorum established now. I won't be here the next meeting, so the four of you have to be.
Are you all good with that?
The 16?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll be here.
Yep, we can do that.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
I can't think of anything else you'd want to miss this meeting for.
No, I'm not here in person. I'll be online, but
Okay.
I will be available.
All right. With that, take a motion, please.
Okay, I'm going to move to continue docket item number 3 to April 16th.
With no fee.
With no-
Yeah, go ahead and you got to spell out why you're continuing this and
Sure.
what's expected.
Sure. Yeah, so we'll continue to continue the case, docket item number 3 to April 16th, with the intention to have more information on the exact plans for the site and for the building.
Yeah, as to the improvements that are being proposed prior to occupancy.
Second.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So any other discussion on this before we take roll call? Again, I'd like to see parking spaces laid out, what the striping you're going to put in, what the barriers are going to be to limit access on Warwick as well as 39th. Any improvements you're going to make to the building, whether it be any treatments on the outside, paint or windows or awnings or sign. I don't know if you need to put signs on there or not, but just to show exactly what you're going to do before you start moving in. Okay? All right.
Well, that's the thing. The other side of the building is actually already ready to be worked on, pretty much. There's just the section, basically the section on Warwick is the building that needs to be with the special use permit, pretty much.
Right. So my understanding, at least from what you guys had said a little earlier, was that you are planning to paint, which is just corrective paint, I'm assuming, clean things up. It sounds like there's not many changes, if any, really. So, but what Chair Crowell's just asking is that it's shown on a plan, whether it's noted, just rehab paint or something like that to match your fencing and then the striping of what the parking is going to be. And I think that would suffice.
Yeah.
Just so that we know what we're getting in that special use permit.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Hassick,
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
All right. Looks like the motion's been passed to continue to the 16th of this month with the intention of you getting those improvements shown on a drawing or a plan submitted to the city as quick as you can.
Mhm.
So you can see all that. And there might be some questions from staff to come back to address. Okay. All right. And we'll see you back on the 16th of April.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. All right, let's move on to docket item number 4, please.
Docket item number 4 is case CD CPC 2024-41, a request to approve a rezoning from R-6 and M3-5 to MPD to permit a demolition debris landfill on about 9.5 acres, generally located at 3808 East 78th Street.
Okay, so no, we have a quorum on this one of those that are here of Arkin, Beasley, Crowell, and Hassick.
I'm promoting the applicant and his attorney to
So you don't have
panelists.
to sit on this one, Mr. Padilla. You're heading out at 10:30 anyways?
So
They still got your meeting? They didn't cancel?
No, it got nice out.
Okay. All right. You'll be back?
Yep. As soon as possible.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. What time would you need to take off?
Around 11:30, 11:40.
Okay,
All right. I think
we
we're
got
fine.
time to get through this next couple, for sure.
Let's
Let's
do
do
it.
it.
Okay.
Okay. All quickly refresh everyone on the case and then pick up where we left off. So this is case CD CPC 2024-41, and as previously mentioned, the applicant is seeking approval to rezone the property to MPD. Of course, there's an associated master plan development associated with this to abate zoning violations on the subject site and permit a demolition debris landfill to operate. So this is a look at the site highlighted in yellow. The main access is to the north. There is no access to the site off of 78th Street, and the site has been operating as an unpermitted demolition debris landfill for quite a long time. So this process through the MPD rezoning and development plan is to officially establish the use on the subject site. We've been working with the applicant to get all of the plan documents in order for this development plan approval. And recently, it has come to being in a more, complete package form, where we can see that one of the major points that was discussed at the last meeting was that sewer line that has been compromised in some sort of way because of the use expanding on to that easement. So it has been identified on the plans for that eventual reconstruction. And there are, some new conditions on the case because, the more information they have, sometimes more conditions can come up, or there's sometimes more things that need to be fixed, which is the case. However, we do believe that we are in a place where we can recommend approval subject to conditions because there's a laundry list of conditions attached to the site. We've been shown the items for the plans that need to be shown. There are 3 outstanding corrections that do need to be resolved. They're minor in nature, so we do believe those can get resolved prior to ordinance request. Thus, we're now recommending approval subject to conditions. Any questions for me? That concludes my staff report.
Okay, any questions for city staff?
What was the new one correction?
I do believe that it had to do with the items I addressed at the last hearing, which talked about the evaluation for the business license on the site and when the final MPD had to come back.
Okay, thank you.
And then some minor tweaks that we found some spelling errors at as well.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions? I mean, obviously, this is a project we've heard a few times. Sounds like there's been some work back and forth that's been done by the applicant. So I want to make sure that city staff has been kind of satisfied with the work that the applicant has done, and it looks like you have an approval for this now. So, okay. With that, let's welcome the applicant then, if the applicant's available.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and members of the commission. My name is Phil Colvoon. I'm here on behalf of the applicant as attorney, and I also have with me David Hosel, who's representing the applicant and has put really frankly, a Herculean amount of work. We realize that this site has to be cleaned up and sorted out, and the implementation of this plan will facilitate that getting done. And we're appreciative of the staff working with us. We are in agreement with the conditions. Extensive drawings of the plans have been filed. And there's one issue, it's not really an issue, but it's one of the commissioners in the last hearing asked what time frame would we need to be able to implement all these things, including, I call it, rewiring the sewer line around where there's rock in that area over it, and the manholes. And I have David Hosel with me. I believe he's on the line, and I'd like to turn it over to him to address the issue of implementation, and that we be able to operate while to fund the cleanup and the implementation of this plan. David?
Mr. Holzel says he's having issues with his mic and video, so are you able to speak, Mr. Holzel?
I'm wondering if there's a couple of options. I could address it, but I think it would be
I think he
far
joined
better.
with another device. Let's see if we can. I don't know if you
Thank
have
you.
anything you
I was
want
gonna
to add.
ask. That was what I was going to ask, if maybe we could just see.
Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
I apologize. I'm not sure why, but there's some sort of block on my video. I would love to be able to see you all or see me, but I can't. I would like to address the items that are outstanding. Is that going to be
Okay.
acceptable?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. And I believe we shared some documents with you for presentation today. If you could show those, that would be awesome.
Anna, they should be under exhibits. They were filed like last Friday, and it's titled Exhibits 4/2/25, and there are about 3 or 4 or 5 plan drawings that David would like to address. Even though we can't see you, David, can you see the screen?
Currently, I'm seeing you. Yes, I can see. So thank you all for the extended time on this. Really appreciate that. In our last meeting, we did discuss the outstanding items. We met with city staff as described. There still seems to be some contention around whether the sewer line's damaged or not. And we certainly, if it is damaged, have agreed to replace it in a new location as described in the plans and accepted by the city. I think I would ask that if it's determined that's not damaged, that there be a look at that before we spend the kind of money we're talking about to install that. But that aside, in the last meeting, the chairman requested that I present a timeline and plan for the remediation process, which I put together and is on the document that I'm needing to see on screen. But basically spelling out the phases of that remediation and the process times and what processes would be done in that remediation period to remove the junk debris, get the landscape buffers installed, and all the other items that were requested as part of this conditions. I think the chairman and others noted they didn't think that was an overnight operation, and I would agree with that 100%. So if you do have that presentation we can look at, that would be what I'd like to show this time.
Okay, I don't have a PowerPoint presentation that was emailed to me. Phil sent over a copy of the plans, and in the body of the email said that so you could use them for your presentation. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, they're PDFs. I don't know if you have a way
They
to view
were,
those in PDFs.
Anna, they were filed on KC Compass, which is the way we did it the last time, because apparently the city technical staff doesn't like things just emailed, that we would put it on KC Compass, which is where I put it as an exhibit.
So question, what are these what are these images going to show? Can we describe it so we can, keep the ball moving?
Yes, sir. Thanks for the question. So basically there's an overall phase map that shows all the different phases of the remediation. And then there's a breakdown for each sheet that shows the area that would be encompassed in each phase. There are phases 1, then phase 2 is broken into 2 pieces because of the size of it, and then phase 3 and 4. These phases are spelled out to show, again, what we're going to do during that time period, how much time it would take for each phase to get this remediation completed, and the elements brought to the level that the city requested, city staff requested, for buffer zones, fencing, lighting, the entrance, all those different items, including the production area, the buffer zone on the north and south of 65 feet adjacent to residential, and all the like. Those elements are going to take different levels of effort and time. And as we do those, our phased approach is to prepare for putting the sewer line in, is in phase 2, to get that property a rough grade for that sewer line so that can be installed as requested. In the meantime, as we're doing the rest of the remediation, determining that there is damage there, that there is an actual need for that to be done. So we can look at that at that time. But the sewer line that's being requested is twice as long as what was originally discussed and agreed on with city staff in the past. And we are going to have to acquire the materials for that additional portion, along with the fact that it's just an existing, or it's twice as much work as the previous. Yeah, so if you go to the second page, there's an overall phase map we could look at. The second sheet, sorry.
Yeah, so the resubmittal.
There you go. Okay. So this basically shows the phases as I described. Phase 1 is the roadway entrance and the path. There was several items stored along there that were important to get cleaned up, especially around the overhead bridge that's crosses this piece. So the intent is to start with that phase to get the entrance cleaned up and make it look like we would want it to in the city. And then we'll move to phase 2, which is in the red. And that's broken into 2 phases I'll look at in just a second, but that's the second phase. Phase 3, more the south west corner there in the yellow, will allow us to clean up the area along where they need the 65-foot buffer zone and the 20-foot on the west side. And then phase 4 is the last phase. It probably has the least amount of cleanup that needs to be done on that and removal of said items. If you go to the next sheet, it just further drills down on and this phase has a lot of surface issues to take care of, but not as many significant issues. The entrance will be addressed in this phase, and the site lighting and trees required along there as part of that. Next page. So this is more at the end of the roadway and up into the shop area. The water line will be on the north side of this. So there's some grade changes going along there from what's existing. Next page. So this is running along the north side of the property all the way to the west line where the sewer will be tied onto. Again, the sewer will be across this north segment. Next page. Okay, so this is the west side of the property. So there's significant grade changes here with the existing material that's stored there. We'll be reducing, again, creating the 20-foot buffer along the west property line, the 65-foot buffer along the south property line adjacent to the residential. Next page. And then this is the remaining east-southeast corner where, like I said, there's less stuff to do here physically, but there's some grade changes, and obviously the retention area has to be constructed during the last 2 phases. We've delineated this with timelines for each of these phases, and the total of those timelines is 42 months of work to completely clean this up, get it in the shape the city's requiring by the buffer zones, the grading, the fencing, the lighting, all the different elements. And so that's where we're at. There was some discussion with city staff about the need for water line to the new office, and we described that in our plan now, along with the sewer repair, I guess we'll call it. So that kind of goes over each of those phases, and I'd be happy to answer questions on any of that as fit. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission to the applicant? There's a lot of stuff here.
I appreciate the phasing and timeline he's given us on being able to remediate some of the issues that have been brought forward.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we would ask that the Plan Commission allow the approval and that there be an additional provision on the approval that we would be allowed to phase in the improvements pursuant to the plans for the phasing that have been presented by the applicant. This will allow us to continue to operate to be able to fund the improvements and at the same time give us the time to get that done realistically. On the sewer issue, that repair is shown on the plat that will be approved. And so the city can enforce, in my opinion, the repair. But if the situation presents itself that we can demonstrate to the city that that does not need to be done, possibly they could look at that differently. But I don't believe the sewer issue is something that the city is worried about, and this is one of the conditions of the approval, that it will be done if the city enforces that or, during the phasing. So that really should not be of concern. It will have to be remedied if the city requires it at the time.
Okay. Yeah, I would think the sewer is of concern of the city because it is a major interceptor serving that area. So that's probably one thing that they would like to make sure that they get that taken care of. And
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
accommodate that. So, yes, go ahead, Mr. Keeper.
Travis Kiefer, Casey Water. Yeah, there seems to be some misunderstanding on the part of the applicant. This is not a matter of if the sewer will be relocated. It is required to be relocated. And the conditions have been written as such that the permits to relocate that sewer need to be obtained prior to any building permits or prior to the final plat being recorded, period.
I think that's basically what I said. Now we know what the city is saying on it. So I could just say, and I looked at receipts and so on and so forth. Mr. Hosel's already spent a couple $100,000 trying to relocate the sewer. It is going to be expensive, but it can be done. But we can't do it unless we operate to fund it. And so this, by adopting this plan and giving the time pursuant to the phasing that Mr. David Hosel just presented, will allow for this to give us the best chance to get it all done.
Anna, can you kind of put the phasing up there? The sewer was part of phase one.
Sir, the sewer is part of phase two and B, A and B.
So I guess what my question is does the sewer not, from whatever I just heard, sewer needs to be phase one. I'm not sure I understand how that could be phase two.
Well,
yeah,
David.
Yeah, so there's a significant amount of material that needs to be moved to get where they want the sewer put now. The sewer does not run where they want us to relocate it to. While the water services it's contending that it's damaged, we contend that it is not damaged, and we asked for any information on that, and there wasn't any. What we were told in the city staff meeting was they want it moved because they don't want it to be under this project.
Right. So part of the conversation last time, that's what I thought was the plan, is that it needed to be figured out where this sewer line is and what needs to be remedied for it, I believe is what the conversation we had last time, because I don't see how you can phase it without doing that first.
So
I will
the,
also clarify that these phasing plans have not been fully vetted by city staff. I received those on Monday morning, whereas the review that came in with the preliminary plat and the last packet of things was submitted on time on the 14th. So they are correct that they have identified where they're going to relocate the sewer, but this phasing plan and how that coordinates with what the improvements need to be done according to water services, the marriage of those two things has not occurred yet.
And the reason I bring that up is because we see an approval on or a recommendation for approval, but I don't think the city would have recommended that if they saw the phasing this way, because it's impossible to do it that way.
I issued my staff report on Friday and this came to me on Monday.
Yep. Okay.
So to clarify, this phasing plan is simply in response to the chairman asking for me to tell him how we're going to get it done and how long it will take. This is not part of the plan submitted, which do show the sewer line placed in an easement as requested along the north property line as agreed to with the city staff in the meetings following the last commission meeting.
Correct.
We have no intention of not putting the sewer in as required. And so if there's any clarification that needs to be made on that, I'm clarifying it right now that we have no intention of not putting the sewer line in that was put on there if it's required. Travis has made it very clear that it's required. Now, the remediation that needs to happen is to clean the site up for the city as part of this plan. The sewer line needs to be put in as part of this plan. The sewer line cannot be put in day one as part of this plan. We can work towards that, but we're not going to build anything else on the site. We're not building buildings. We're not doing any of those items that would be required. It was explained to us in the city staff meeting that we needed to be able to do that. We need to be able to get land disturbance permits, small sections at a time, that we wouldn't be able to work the whole site. So with all that information, I put this phase plan together for the remediation of the site to make it look like it's supposed to, clean it up, and do the elements along the way that are required. And as we get to the sewer, which is in phase 2, we will be able to do that work at that time.
I understand that. Yeah, so they'll have the preliminary plat that came through, and then the final can't be recorded until that sewer is permitted.
Okay.
Correct.
That's correct.
And no building permits issued.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I see number 35, condition 35 is where that's stated.
Now, with that in mind, I would contest the idea. We need to have some electricity at the gate to provide security for this site. We're having thievery from it on a regular basis, and as recently as this weekend. That is something I would request. And as part of the entrance building, the sign is going to have to go in. I assume you want those things to go in as part of this plan. That's the beginning. The entrance is the beginning. So was the reasoning for phase 1 going there. We need to understand if that's not possible or not, because it seems unreasonable that we couldn't put in some security and our sign as part of this in phase 1. We'd like some feedback on that.
I don't have any, from my personal standpoint, I don't have any issue with that. I think you need to do what you got to do in order to move forward with your project, but that's really going to come from the city and their permitting and how this works out. If you need electrical to the side, you got to have that. Make everything work. I think that's part of doing the work of the project itself.
And we would contend that the sign and entrance is an important part of making this look right for everyone who's involved.
Well, signage is something else.
Yeah, signage is a whole different permit altogether, right?
Understood. But but not being able to get that permit because we haven't gotten a $500,000 sewer line put in seems a little bit restrictive.
I'm not sure that would be construed to be a construction permit. I think it, you know,
That it is
electrical.
it is a
Is
permit.
it?
It is.
Yeah, we're going to the effort. We're showing clearly that we have a plan and path forward, and this is what was requested to move forward. I think we're taking all those steps, and I guess we're asking for a little consideration as needed from the city to make sure this is successful, because the alternative is not successful for anyone, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah, I don't think the city is trying to stop you from doing anything and be successful. They want you to be successful too. They just want to make sure that it's done right, that the city's also protected.
For sure.
So,
thank you.
Yeah.
I will say I agree with the applicant, the way the condition is written. Sign permits would be included in, we would not issue them before the sewer is relocated.
Actually, the sign permit would not fall under that. The electrical permit would, and it could be modified to allow for an electrical permit to be pulled for gate security, to make it very specific so that we don't end up issuing some blanket building permit.
And that would be very agreeable.
Okay. All right. And I'm just me as the chair, my personal self speaking on the phasing plan and that. I appreciate you putting that together because that gives us as a commission, a time frame or sense of time of this project to get it from start to where it's fully acceptable. But I'm not ready to accept that as part of the overall project without staff looking through that to make sure that they have that. So I would prefer that that phasing plan be vetted out before it goes to the next step.
Yes.
Everybody has a chance
honestly,
to look at it if need be. I don't know if you need to or not, but
So what are the next steps? From us, it goes to BZA or it goes to council? Where?
Council.
goes to council.
Okay.
Yeah.
and condition 13 is not a problem. Those are minor issues, as Anna explained. We'll be happy to make those corrections in the interim. If the phasing plan was really just for information, if you feel like you needed to make a decision to be added to the drawing set, we don't have a problem with that, but I don't feel that it's necessary to be added as long as you guys are understanding this is our commitment and the timelines we require.
Yeah.
I believe originally this was looking for a 5-year renewal. We want to make sure we're done well inside that 5 years. And this is a very conservative plan that I would rather, under promise and over perform on. And so that was why it was put together in this manner.
Yeah, I think you need to have some kind of phasing plan shown, but I want it to be vetted through with the staff.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to shoot
So you
ourselves in
recommend
the foot,
approval
but
or?
yeah.
Or council approval. Yeah. Ordinance.
Yeah, so you're not, I think I'm understanding, you're not suggesting to keep it here, to do that. You're saying
Correct.
move it forward, but it's vetted by staff.
Yes.
before it- Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I
Okay.
thought.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other comments from the commission with the applicant or at this time?
I have a question for Mr. Duddy. Did we not have some outstanding things that came from you, and how does that affect what you had on the books for this project?
Yes, currently they have outstanding notices of violation for operating a rock crushing business in an R6 zone district, and the storage and operation of a demolition debris landfill in an R6 zone district. The passage of this would alleviate those notices of violation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Let's open it up for public testimony then. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 4, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, we'll close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Hozel?
No, I appreciate you all. Again, I know this has been a longer process than it should be. I appreciate your flexibility in that and look forward to this being approved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, we'll close testimony then, speak amongst the commission. There's really nothing else to discuss on this. I'll take a motion, please.
Just want to get clarification on any addition to the conditions. So we're adding a condition, I'm assuming, for the allowance for the phasing as long as it's being reviewed by staff or has time for it to be reviewed by
Yeah, I
staff.
think you just add a condition to coordinate a phasing plan with
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah, and then
Prior to, was it ordinance?
Ordinance request.
Yeah.
and then the allowance for electrical for the express purpose of the gate security. Is that another condition that we want to add to?
Is that something you want to do at this time, Travis, or is that just something you guys work with on your own?
I mean, that can be added in if you want to add in a specific condition about the electrical for gate security.
Okay. We'll go ahead and just do that. So if nobody has any additional comments, I'll just go ahead and make a motion for the approval of docket item number 4 with the condition stated, with the addition for a condition to allow for time for staff to review the phasing as stated, and then the addition for allowing electrical for the express purpose of gate security.
Okay. On the phasing, just that a phasing plan be prepared and coordinated with staff prior to ordinance.
Yep.
Is that how you amend your motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
So I got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 4 with conditions stated, and then adding 2 conditions. One for preparation of a phasing plan to be coordinated with staff prior to ordinance, and then a second one allowing electrical specifically for the gate security. Margaret, can you take roll call on the motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Prowl,
Aye.
Hassick.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes. Again, thank you for all the hard work on this, and appreciate your patience with us as well as the things you've done. So good luck as you move forward on this project.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
All right, let's move on to docket item number 5, please.
Docket item number 5 is case CD CPC 2025-22, a request to approve a rezoning from districts R 2.5 and B 3-2 to district UR on about 1.2 acres generally located at the northwest corner of Montgall Avenue and East 35th Street to allow for an assisted living facility.
Good morning, Commissioners. Matthew Barnes, City Planning and Development Management Division. Give me 1 second. I still got to share. Okay, we have docket item number 5, which is the rezoning to District UR for the Palestine Legacy Residences. There we go. The site is located in Jackson County, just south of downtown, and the eastern part of Kansas City. Here is a closer view yet of the site highlighted in yellow. You can see 35th Street to the south, Prospect, running north-south right by the site, and Bruce Watkins Drive to the west. This is the site. I will note that the 2 buildings on this building and the smaller building have already been demolished. This grocery store slash convenience store is still existing on site, off-site. And here is the site 2 from 35th Street. You can see Big D's Liquor and Combin to the on the corner there. And here's the proposed site plan. You can see that they are utilizing mainly the Montgall frontage as their primary entrance. The primary entrance is kind of right up here. They are in conjunction with the property to the north, which is a assisted living facility as well. They have an interior courtyard for the residences, and they do have some frontage on Prospect, which the applicant has worked with staff to add more transparency and bring that frontage up to what the prospect overlay is suggesting, even though that they are not under those regulations yet. Here is the elevations. So the top one is the prospect elevation. You can see the courtyard will be behind the liquor store and kind of screened from that. They've also provided sufficient landscaping on each side. And then this southern side is Montgall, which will be the kind of main entrance there. And then here is the 35th and northern elevation as well. You can see that existing taller assisted living just behind that. And here's just a kind of a rendering of the aerial view of where this will be. As stated, this is rezoning from B3-2 to UR, which is urban redevelopment, for a 39-unit assisted living facility. They are providing 10 parking spaces on the northern side of the property. Assisted living requires one per, I don't remember that off the top of my head, but they are in conformance with that. And then landscaping is conformance with 88425. Public engagement ceremony, they held their meeting on March 21st. They had 4 attendees, and their comments and concerns were mainly focused on the operational matters of the facility and safety concerns near the property. With that, staff is recommending approval with conditions for the rezoning to UR, and I can take any questions.
Okay, any questions for city staff? Okay, all right, let's move on to the applicant then. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Jim Scott with Scott Associates, and we're architects and urban planners with a long working relationship with Palestine Economic Development. Here today is the nonprofit chair of Palestine Economic Development, Mel Gross. And also online is our development consultant, Brian Collins with Tremora Development. Palestine Economic Development Corporation grew out of the Palestine Missionary Baptist Church about 40 years ago and has been dealing with senior housing as its primary focus in this area for that time. So there are hundreds of units of housing to the immediate north, including the building shown by Matthew there. That's actually a senior housing project, not assisted living. That's only important because a part of the commitment at Palestine has been to provide a continuum of housing and a continuum of care for seniors in that neighborhood. The objective is to allow affordable housing and affordable care for the assisted living facility to keep people in the neighborhood, to allow an option that keeps people in the neighborhood. And that option is one endorsed by both PEDC and Palestine Missionary Baptist Church as its parent. Our objective in dealing with affordable assisted living is to reduce the cost to the tenants to half the cost of the $6,000 or so a month that we see in the marketplace. So our objective is to reduce that at least in half and to provide a source for that. And this facility is also a continuation of planning we've done in that area for quite some time. Palestine, along with KC Area Development, that was the ATA development entity that was dissolved a few years ago, and the Oak Park Neighborhood Association, the Ivanhoe Neighborhood Association at that time, and also Key Coalition Neighborhood Association, all worked together in a planning exercise in 2023 and 24 that looked at a station area plan for the intersection of 35th and Prospect. Initially, this project was actually on the corner of 35th and Prospect, where the Big D's is right now. During the course of our planning, that project for the liquor store was authorized and constructed, and so we had to reorganize our exercise, and it was no longer the same kind of configuration of use, which we planned as a part of that four-corner intersection improvement at 35th and Prospect. So this was a part of a more comprehensive step that we took at that time, and also a continuation of the planning that's been underway for about 40 years there. The facility itself actually has a certificate of need designation from the state of Missouri and has been through reviews with the state of Missouri to authorize it to make progress. And also the Palestine Economic Development Corporation has promoted a community improvement district in the area, formed it, and is organizing that. I want to note, I'd like to ask Mel to say a little bit about Palestine, but I want to note that that's a completely volunteer-led organization. Mr. Gross is volunteer, has been stalwart for decades in seeing this initiative in this area, and continues with this project. So that project to the immediate north, about 75 units, has a Linwood, Palestine Commons identity. We're actually building on that continuum of housing and continuum care with this project. Mel, do you mind saying a little bit about Palestine Economic Development Corporation?
I'm Melvin Gross, and I'm the chairman of the Palestine Economic Development Corporation, which is a 501c3 arm of the Palestine Missionary Baptist Church, of which the corporation grew out of some 30 plus years ago as we began to deal with how we maintain residents within the area, going from their inabilities to maintain their individual homes and still keep them within the neighborhood where they have raised their families and been friends with all of the surrounding people within the area. And the vision was to develop a congregate type of housing for seniors and provide a continuum of care for the residents in that area, so that as long as they could live independently, we would provide those kind of units, in which we have done now to the tune of 188 units of independent living apartments for seniors. And we have also developed an assisted living, a senior activity center, which is a 35,000 square foot building where seniors in the neighborhood can go and fellowship each day and have a lunch meal and have daily exercise programs and arts and crafts for them to participate in on a daily basis, 5 days a week. And now that many of the seniors who are living in the independent living are finding it difficult for them to maintain all the activities of daily living, so that they need to now find some other place to which they can move and still maintain their quality of life. Otherwise, the choices are go back to a family member or a friend or something like that, in which that interrupts that family life. So we are proposing and planning to build a 39-bed assisted living place that is affordable for them within that area. We've developed a unique model that helps provide them with the services that they need, that will be somewhat half as what they could get those same services at a suburban assisted living place, i.e. John Knox, starting at $6,000 plus every month. And we have engaged the architectural firm, a developer. We've developed a funding mechanism where we'll be able to provide the cost of this facility, and it's somewhat of a subsidy program that will ensure that the people who need the services can be able to get them with some kind of subsidy to help them finance, because it's all independent and private pay, rather than with the Medicare and Medicaid type of services that are required in other places. So we've acquired all the land that's needed, and now we are in the process of seeking to build the facility, as Jim had just recalled.
We're in general agreement with and have been working closely with staff to advance the cause on this project. We're in general agreement with all the conditions. We continue a working relationship with Wright KC Development, Wright KC now actually. ATA has been a part of land assembly supporting PEDC. And as I said, we'll have our final review for the certificate of need with the state of Missouri. And we're prepared to submit for a building permit in about a month, pending all the entitlement approvals that we're working on now. Is that everything, Matthew?
I think so.
Okay, any questions for the applicant?
Yes. So you're saying this is assisted living. What does the unit look like? Is it a one-bedroom, a studio? What are we talking about here?
There's studio apartments. By the time, again, as Mel described, you have independent living as a part of this continuum. So if you're here, you're in a studio by choice. But yes, it's really a studio apartment with no actual kitchen facilities intended. Kitchen is a congregate eating pattern here.
It's a one bedroom. It's not a two-person unit.
Yeah, individual room.
Individual room.
Studios with no kitchen.
You're confusing me because to me, a studio means something different than a one-bedroom.
Is a studio.
Which one are we talking about?
The studio with one bed was your point, I believe, Mel. That's
Yeah,
not, they're
it's a
not double
studio
occupancy.
with one bed.
They're not double occupancy. Single occupancy studios with the congregate eating.
So even though there's not a kitchen per se, there is refrigeration available for them to have stuff in their room?
As requested, we provided for a refrigerator as requested.
A mini type refrigerator, not a full.
No, I'm talking about that, yeah. And you mentioned half the price. Do you have an actual cost for someone to move in here?
We have projections, yes, with the average cost of being about $3,000 a month.
You're finding that you have clients that can afford that and ready to move in?
We, as I said, it's a formula that includes subsidies. And we have clients who can pay that and clients who can pay less than that. Therefore, those who cannot, if they qualify, then we will help provide a subsidy and make sure that they can get the services that they need.
So you knew what I wanted to hear, didn't you?
I did.
I know that it's a project that is well needed within the urban core, so I applaud you for taking this on. But at the same time, I need to question you to make sure that the bulk of our citizens can get in for services. So thank you for being open to me for my inquiry.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The only reason we're doing this project, to be blunt, is not a development project that intends to turn a profit for anybody. It's intended only to serve this social purpose of continuation of the last 35 years. Again, just to be direct about it.
That's why I was trying to make sure it was continuing to do that.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
What kind of staff do you have at the facility?
We will have an executive director, manager, who will have a medical team, whether it is LPNs or whatever the case might be, supporting her. They'll have food service, and we'll have janitorial and cleaning services.
So any given time, you'd have 8 to 12 people there?
Probably.
And then can you explain to me what you mean by assisted living? What is that in your definition?
Assisted living is essentially for those who cannot do their normal daily activities, whether it's feeding themselves, whether it's bathing themselves, or whether it's providing their medications on a timely basis, yeah.
Okay.
If I may add too, the state of Missouri is, since we have certificate of need, their definition is rigorous and we have complied with that.
Okay.
So to me, I'm sorry, yeah. So
Go
to
ahead.
me, I'm hearing you say if you have a resident that is not capable to going to a congregate area for meals, they will bring those meals to them?
Yes,
Okay.
we'll have that.
Okay. Yeah, I was turning. Yeah, I was turning. I was like, okay.
All right, I'll come back to you. Let's go to public comment. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 5, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon. Come on up, sir. State your name and address for the record if you don't mind.
Yeah, Ray Crowley. I live at 3436 Cleveland. We have a house on 3508 Mungo. And I would like to ask the applicants, are you all planning to buy that area, the houses and stuff? You're going to uproot the people that lives there? And what are you going to offer them as far as their property?
We have acquired all the properties that we need for this facility, and there is no plan for purchasing any more property.
So you're planning on offering money for the properties to purchase them? Or you're going to just
Again,
walk around?
no, again, we have no need for properties at 35th and Montgall. We have acquired all the properties we need at this point and will not be getting additional properties.
Okay, 'cause we got the letter in the mail saying y'all wanted to move from 35th all the way up towards, if I'm not mistaken, from 35th to Mungo, all over for the assisted living. Y'all want to go up at least 1.2 acres. So that would include my rental house.
Not south of 35th.
No?
South of
Not south of
That's
35th.
south.
Matthew, can you show the site plan or an aerial showing where the project is located, please? So can you blow that up?
Here.
There you go. Okay. There we go. Okay. So you can see, sir, the project is outlined in that yellow right there. So everything looks like it's north of 35th Street.
Yeah, our house would be right there on Mungo, on the west
Side.
side.
Can you,
On the east side.
East side, sir?
Huh?
On the east side of Mount.
can you,
We're on the west side of Mungo. Right before you get to Prospect.
It's south of 35th, though.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, no interest there
We're
at
not
all.
going south of 35th.
Right.
yeah, they're just staying north of 35th Street. Where that
Okay.
yellow. Okay. All right. Thank you. Anybody else? Like we answered that. Got that question? Okay. Is anybody online?
There are no hands raised online.
Okay. All right. With that, we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add at this time?
No, sir.
Okay.
When do you start?
Building permits going in a month, he said.
In a month? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
If you,
Thank
yeah, if you voted ahead.
I didn't hear that part. Okay.
Okay. All right. With that, we'll close testimony and speak amongst the commission. There's nothing to discuss. I'll take a motion, please.
I'm going to go ahead and move to approve docket item number 5 with conditions stated.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 5 with conditions stated. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crow,
Aye.
Hassick.
Aye.
All right. Looks like the motion passes 4-0. Thank you for your project and good luck moving forward. Everybody doing okay? We got 2 cases left. Can we get through them?
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to docket item number 6, please. 6-1 and 6-2.
Docket item number 6.1 is case CD CPC 2025-29, a request to approve a rezoning from District R 7.5 to District R 2.5 on about 19 acres, generally located on the west side of North Platte Purchase Drive, approximately 100 feet north of Northwest 79th Terrace, allowing for the creation of 90 residential units on 16 lots and 3 tracts. In case CD CPC 2025-23, a request to approve a development plan and proposed district R 2.5 on about 19 acres generally located on the west side of North Platte Purchase Drive, approximately 100 feet north of Northwest 79th Terrace, allowing for the creation of 90 residential units on 16 lots and 3 tracks.
Okay, good after or morning still, commissioners. Here for docket item Matthew Barnes, City Planning Development with docket item number 6, rezoning and development plan for the Park Place residential development. This site is located in the Northland. You can see Highway 169 to the east and Berry Road to the north. Outside of the screen is Metro North Mall, just to the northeast here. The site is highlighted in yellow. Here's just a view from the site looking east from North Platte Purchase Drive in 2024. You can see that prior to 2024, it was heavily wooded, and that was removed at some point. Here's a site plan that they're proposing. You can see that they are connecting to the existing streets to the west there and continue over to Platte Purchase Drive. They are including also a southern connection too, and pedestrian connections throughout. They are connecting over to Platte Purchase at the south, and then to the north, they do have a trail going through, which will also connect to their pool area. Their pool area will need to have a separate project plan when they have more concrete ideas of where that's going and how they'll be implementing that. Here's just a few sample elevations of the buildings proposed. They did work with staff to increase the residential entrances on the front. They also, if you can see in this previous rendering, they are on corner lots, changing the driveways to be off of the side street to increase the pedestrian experience and not have driveway after driveway. And here's just a couple renderings of that. I did fail to mention that the southern portion over here will have some single unit detached homes. So it is a mixture of 3plexes, 4plexes, and single unit detached homes. So the way that these are plotted, these multi-unit buildings would not be for sale. There's 11 detached homes, 13 3-unit townhouses, and 10 4-unit townhouses. As stated, the applicant did work with staff to reduce garage frontage and provide additional pedestrian space throughout. The project plan for the pool area will be required prior to recording of the final plat, and the applicant has placed a note on the plan that in good faith they will be adding 75 additional trees to the site to meet the intent for the tree preservation ordinance. Here's just an overview of the rezoning. They're proposing to rezone the entire area to R2.5. Currently, as shown in blue, that area is R2.5 and the pink is R7.5. They're proposing to rezone the entire thing to that R2.5. The public engagement summary, the in-person meeting was held on March 19th. They had 23 people attended. They also held a secondary virtual meeting on March 25th. They had 12 people attended. There was some, they worked with the neighborhood association that's adjacent to meet their needs and held that secondary, which became first in-person meeting. With that, staff is recommending approval for case number 6.1, the rezoning, and approval with conditions for case number 6.2, the development plan, and I can take any questions.
All right, any questions from the commission to the applicant or to the city staff?
So those designs you showed us are the designs they want to build?
Correct.
What were the improvements made for the lessening of garage?
So they did pull some of the units. They don't have example renderings of having the garages come off the side. So the end unit will have all facade of the residential. There will be a garage on the front for those corner units, and they've also added articulation and widened the area where the front doors are.
And these are 2 and 3 bedrooms?
I might defer to the applicant for that.
That's my only question, I guess, for staff, as you had mentioned the changes they made, but I didn't see it on what I was looking at.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's welcome the applicant. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Kiana Muhammad. I am with Olson at 1301 Burlington Street. We've been involved with city staff and some of the residents in the area. We, again, like Matthew mentioned, we hosted 2 neighborhood meetings, 1 in person and 1 virtually. During those meetings, some of the residents did raise a lot of concerns about access and the conditions of North Platte Purchase. And we kind of explained to them that the city already has plans in place to address those improvements. Overall, everything has been going pretty smoothly. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
So the bedroom, you count for your units, 2 and 3 bedrooms, or what do you have planned?
Yes, we were thinking about like a good mix of like 2 and 3 for like the townhomes.
Have rent ranges in place yet?
We have the site plans show any of them, but we don't really have any detailed ones.
This is Jake with Olson at 1301 Burlington Street in North Kansas City. So what the intent on these properties is to be individually 0 lot platted. So they could be sold if necessary. At this point, the owner wants to hold them for rent. Those rents will be marketplace, and these are 3,000 square foot individual units. So they're quite large. And so you would be looking at a competitive price in the Northland for that, which would be, you know, around $2,500 to $3,500 a month. So they're very high-end duplexes, or 3 quad and 4plexes.
So just looking at the site plan from west to east, starting down on Delta, those will all be single family down there.
Yes.
And then once you get past the little tail of the subdivision, then that's when you start, is it duplexes or triplexes?
Tri and quad. So it'll be 3 units and 4 units, all individually platted.
All the way along Alpine on both sides. And then if we go up to 81st Place, those are also
Yes.
3plexes as you come into the neighborhood.
Yep.
And then you're going to have the tie-in to Platte Purchase on the east side.
Correct.
So what was the question that the attendees brought up about the connection to?
Upon plat purchase.
Yeah.
Currently, plat purchase is not improved, and it is quite, there's a lot of undulations. There is a plan that the city has on file to improve plat purchase. However, they have no timeline for it. It is on the major street plan, and so it would be the burden of the city to improve that, not the developer. And so we are trying to make as many connections as we can to make sure that when that road does get improved, our driveway connection to plat purchase can be altered in a way to allow those city plans to be successful.
Yeah, so it's not improved from basically just north of 79th Terrace up to 82nd.
Yeah, and that was a primary concern of the owners adjacent, you know, in the neighborhood, that they also feel that it needs to be improved. And unfortunately, our developer doesn't have any ability to do that because it's on the major street plan. So we did urge them to contact their council people and try to get that funding approved for that road improvements, because the plans are already done. The plans are ready to be built. There's just no timeline for it.
Okay.
So just in my mind, then I'm hearing more discussion on how the east-west connections are not really developed in the Northland. Because if I'm looking, that's a north-south, plat purchase is a north-south street.
Yeah, plat purchase is a north-south street, and their proposed subdivision would tie in. This 81st place would come all the way over,
Okay.
tie into there. And then at the same time, as the subdivision comes to south, you'd have this connectivity with Delta that comes through the subdivision and up and then out.
Mhm. That's a separate ownership for that green space there.
No, this is all part of the development.
Okay, I'm with you. Thank you.
Okay. So the proposal right now is to leave plat purchase as is until such time the city's able to come up with the money to do that.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else to add, Mr. Bassanetto? Or you good?
Yes, I mean, they would be paying into the arterial impact fee, which we have a presentation coming up for CPC to consider. But yeah, so we would take care of it once funding becomes approved.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, let's welcome any public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item 6.1 or 6.2, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
We did have a hand raised online, Stephen Saylor.
I'm part of
Steven
the
Saylor.
applicant team. I'm from Olson, 1301 Burlington. I have nothing to add.
The only hand.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Anything else y'all would like to add at this time?
Thank you.
Okay, and the conditions, you're all good with those that are?
Correct. We agree
okay.
with all conditions.
Okay. All right, we'll close testimony then and speak amongst the commission. If there's nothing to discuss, I'll take a motion, please.
Moving to approve docket item 6.1 without conditions and 6.2 with conditions stated.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket items 6.1 and 6.2. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Prowl,
Aye.
Hasek.
Aye.
Looks like the motion passes.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. What's that? Okay. All right, let's move on to docket item 7, please.
Docket item number 7 is case CD CPC 2025-27, a request to approve a development plan and preliminary plat in District M1-5 to permit warehousing, wholesaling, freight movement, and general manufacturing, production, and industrial service on about 86 acres generally located at Stadium Drive and Raytown Road.
Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
Thank you. Okay, before you is docket number 7, CDCPC 2025-27. This is a non-residential development plan at 6655 Stadium Drive. This is located near the Truman Sports Complex. You can see the site is the location of the old Leeds assembly plant. The building did burn down a few years ago. Right now it's being used for outdoor warehousing. Union Pacific Railroad has acquired the site. Most importantly, here's a view from Stadium Drive. Here's a view from Bennington when the plant was still there. And then here's a view looking west from East 39th Street. You can see the railroad bridge here. I'm sure the applicant will bring up complications related to that with the plan. They are proposing 3 buildings for warehousing uses as well as manufacturing. There will also be a use to do repair on locomotives for all of the railroads within the area. This is pretty much the intersection of all our major railroads in Kansas City. As I said, the proposed uses, this is over 3 million square feet of warehousing distribution, manufacturing, industrial services. A bit of a history to this site. To this site is in yellow. This is north to your right. The Racer Trust, after GM filed for bankruptcy in 2011, there was a trust developed to remediate sites with any contamination to allow for future development, which is what we're seeing today. So a bit of a success story. And then in the black, the applicant is wanting to dedicate right-of-way to the city of Kansas City. This would be in coordination with the Office of Environmental Quality and Heartland Conservation Alliance, who are currently awarded a grant through ARPA to do riparian and restoration work along the Blue River. So it's a bit of a win-win for everyone. The applicant has met with the Office of Environmental Quality to make sure all of the plans work together. The applicant will be required to submit a project plan with more details, so that will be coming before the City Plan Commission in the future. Staff's biggest concern is making sure that this site along Stadium Drive can be cleaned up in time for the World Cup. So we'll be leaning on Union Pacific to coordinate with the city engineer who's sitting behind me to really make sure Stadium Drive does not look like what it looks like today. It's a pretty horrible image for Kansas City on your way to one of the largest sporting events we'll ever see in our lifetime here. Here are some rough renderings of what's been discussed of trying to revive Stadium Drive as you enter the Truman Sports Complex. But again, more details will be shared with staff when the project plan is submitted. Staff does want to compliment the applicant team, has been great to work with. It's a huge site, it's a big undertaking, but we need more details, which is why we're requiring the project plan. Staff's recommendation is approval with conditions. I'll see if the applicant team.
All right, any questions for city staff? Okay, let's welcome the applicant then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Jacob Hodson with Olson at 1301 Burlington Street in North Kansas City. Olson is very excited to be a part of the Leeds manufacturing redevelopment. We understand that the eyes of the city are on this parcel, and they have been for quite some time. So we have been working closely with staff and more departments than I have ever worked with at the city before on a plan. We accept all of their conditions, and we do look forward to continuing adding detail and those project plans as we know more. It's a very complex parcel with a lot of old utilities on it. And so it's been a little slow to collect that information and have us had time to aggregate it. So with that, I would let Union Pacific, Todd, introduce himself and say a few things.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Todd Hackle with Union Pacific Railroad, 600 Broadway, Kansas City, Missouri. Yeah, we're very excited about this new redevelopment. We believe that this property is perfectly positioned within the city to help take truck traffic off the roads, long haul truck traffic off the roads, generate income, new carloads for Union Pacific, while at the same time redeveloping a blighted area. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions from the commission to the applicant?
Yes. Can you clarify for me? Because Andrew, when you were showing us slides, you were showing us the side of the street that housed the actual building. Does this include the parking lot that's on the other side of the street as well, or is it just that? What would I call it? South side. I think that's more south.
Yeah, it is just the south side development where
Okay.
the old manufacturing building for GM was.
So we're talking about cleaning it up for the World Cup. So who's the other partner that's going to do the north side of this cleanup?
They're out there somewhere.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm what actually was I looking at. So from the bridge to the railroad on the south side is the actual site
Correct.
that we're talking about. Okay.
Correct. And we are proposing, which we're going to work with Nick Bossinetto very soon to get in public road improvement plans to improve those curbs, the road improvements, and then add a 10-foot multi-use trail between the bridge and the railroad. And then do the streetscapes. And then that'll be it for this first push. Then we'll wait for future development to come on to actually build those buildings. But that's the push to try to get that done before the World Cup.
So Andy, you mentioned they might address the actual bridge tunnel. Have some comments to say on that?
So I'll let Todd, he's got the specifics on this, but that is not a Union Pacific bridge. And so we'd have to work in partnership with another railroad.
Yeah, the Union Pacific main line actually runs along the west side of the property that we acquired. On the east side, that bridge, that grade separated bridge, both at 39th Street and at Stadium Drive, that is the CPKC rail line.
Canadian Pacific, yeah.
Oh, Canadian.
If I may, Nicholas Bossanetto, city engineer. First of all, UP has been wonderful to work with on this project. So CPKC owns, like you said, the bridge over, and they are willing to rebuild that bridge and widen that bridge so that we can actually continue the roadway. Right now it pinches down, and so CPKC has been in talks, and actually UP has been very good working with them because they abut each other. And we're looking for about $1 million to help CPKC widen that bridge. So that money, and also the money to do the streetscape along Stadium Drive to complement what they're doing, those are all funds that we're trying to get in the budget for World Cup. So all these plans are kind of working together, and everybody's cooperating very well.
Okay, thank you so much.
I got to put on a different hat for just a minute, and that's I'm a member of the Kansas City Industrial Council, so this is part of the Blue Valley Industrial Association or area. So we strongly recommend you become a part of our group. We help support this area as well as development. So we're very thankful to see you coming in with this project and the things that you're doing down there. It's going to be a great addition and reinvestment and redo of the Leeds plant. We're just thankful to see you working in this area. So we'd love to have at some point talk to our group about the project, what you plan to do there and propose, and love to even have you as a member. So something to consider. All right. Any other questions from the commission? I'm taking that hat off now, putting my planning commission hat back on. All right. So let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 7, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Anything else y'all would like to add?
No, just that we look forward to your approval of this plan. Thank you.
Okay. One more comment on my Kansas City Industrial Council. This was brought before we do an annual green sheet of initiatives. And this particular improvement was something that was high on our list to get done, the intersection and the improvements here, because we see the need for that. And that's stuff we will be pushing and helping support through the city as well. All right.
I would say one other thing.
Yeah.
Just based on Mr. Bossanetto's comment, we are actively engaged with the CPKC. And just recently, Union Pacific entered into a temporary construction easement agreement that's allowing them to get onto our property and then demo out the old retaining wall that runs along the east side. So that work is already now commencing. And so you'll see, in addition to what we plan on doing for the beautification along Stadium Drive, along the east side of our property, the work will be getting underway with the CPKC project probably in the next 2 weeks. That'll clean that up as well.
Okay, very good. All right, with that, we'll close testimony and speak amongst the commission. And if there's nothing to discuss, I'll take a motion, please.
Moving to approve docket item number 7 with conditions stated.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 7. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Prowl,
Aye.
Passick.
Aye.
Looks like the motion passes 4-0.
Thanks
Thanks
Mr.
again.
Chair.
Thank you very much.
Yep. All right, with that, We motored through all of our docketed items. Is there anything else to bring before the commission this time?
I don't have anything.
All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, everybody. I will not be here next meeting. I think the three of you will be, plus Padilla, he'll be here, Tyler will be here, and hopefully Commissioner Lynch will be here as well. So
Somebody have his number to let him know we done, so he doesn't try to come back.
I think you should come back and then
Oh,
find
okay.
out we're done.